Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. And welcome to the Artist Alley Guide. I want this to be a one-stop shop kind of video for you. If you are a new artist looking to join the Artist Alleys, if you are somebody who's done Artist Alleys but are looking for maybe some different tips or advice, I want this to be that video for you. We're gonna go through everything that I wish that I had when I was first starting out. So hopefully with that, this will be a useful video for you. So if you've never seen me before, I'll give a little bit of my credentials here. My name is Allie, I run diamondfishart. I have been doing Artist Alley conventions since 2022, so not a really long time length, but I've done a decent amount of conventions. Here is a list of the conventions that I have done and are confirmed to be doing for the rest of this year. So I've done a decent smattering of them. I am also Canadian, and I've only ever done Canadian cons. So I don't know what the differences would be for US or international cons, but hopefully some of this could be useful for you anyway. And to make this video nice and YouTuber friendly, I have organized everything into a numbered list. Number 1, what is an Artist Alley? Now, if you're clicking on this video, I assume that you have some inclination on what an Artist Alley is, but just in case you clicked on this at random, the Artist Alley is the name that is given to an anime or comic convention that is the place where the artists, independent artists, go to sell their work at their tables. Sometimes they're woven in with the vendors, sometimes they are in their own separate section, but they call it an Artist Alley, differing from the vendor side, because vendors are people who have a business who buy like official product from like the official like Nintendo store or whatever, and they sell like official product, while Artist Alley are artists who have created their wares that they are then going to sell to you. Of course, a lot of it is fan art at anime and comic conventions, but it is all stuff that was created by the person, generally the person that is at the booth. So I would recommend, if you've never been to an Artist Alley, you should go check it out. You find the coolest stuff there. People are so talented, and the vendor side is cool, don't get me wrong, but the artist side, you will find stuff. Anything that you could possibly imagine is what you'll find there. It's incredible. The longer I go to cons, the less I want to even check out the vendor side, because the Artist Alley is just so talented. Everybody's so cool and talented, and I love supporting independent artists. It's the best. But nowadays I would say Artist Alley, even if it isn't just its own section, it's usually just any artist. I call the Artist Alley places when I go to like markets, like local markets in my city, even though everybody is kind of a local artisan. I'm like, it's the Artist Alley, but it just rolls off the tongue so nicely. Now that might be because my name is Allie, but anyway, it's a good term. Number 2, how to apply. So at this point, I assume you have made the hardest decision that there is in this whole thing, which is deciding to do a convention. Because it isn't an easy thing. It can be quite scary if you've never done one before. But just making the decision like that I am going to do it, even if it doesn't end up being for a year, is the first step. Don't wait till you're ready. Just go. Work toward the goal. Choose the goal, work toward the goal. And I assume that your goal, if you're here, is to do an Artist Alley. So the next question that you probably have is, well, how do I apply to these conventions? Because they're all kind of different. Like, what do I do? And so I will walk you through a couple of the most common ways that I see, and then hopefully maybe down below, if people have different experiences, they can leave their comments and you can learn from them as well. So for your first convention, I would recommend doing a convention in your city. I imagine that if you're trying to apply to one, you've been to one before, so that would be your local convention. That would probably be the best place to go, because of course it's a con that you would know, hopefully in a city you know at least a little bit. It's, you know, getting rid of some of those anxieties, and that would be the con, and it's just like the con that you might know the most people at. It's always the best one to do your local con. However, I wouldn't say that you like have to be stuck at your local con. Like for me, I'm from Winnipeg, but the first con I ever did was Fan Expo Vancouver 2022, which was really far and really expensive, and I did not break even, but it was a good experience because I didn't want to wait. So I would say pick the con that you want to go to and then focus on how to apply for that con. Now here, I'm going to list all of the Fan Expo Informa events. Now Fan Expo, all these cons here are run by the same company. They're all owned by the same company, so you apply to them the same way. You have to apply to each con separately, but they're all the same application. And The benefit of these are that the applications are open all year. So as soon as one con ends, they open applications up for the next year. So you can apply really early to the cons. Obviously, it doesn't ever guarantee that you'll get in, but generally the earlier you apply, the more likely it is that you will get in. The con with the Informa events is that they're not very good at communicating, and you have to pay in advance. You have to give them your money before they tell you that you get a table or not. And they're not very good at communicating. I've known of some cons, and for some people, they don't hear back until like 2 weeks before the con. Some people don't hear back at all. They just check the website and they're like, oh, I have a table. Like, which isn't good and can be very stressful because of that. And having to pay so much up front, and then if you don't get a table, I've heard it can be a little bit annoying to get a refund. I've never actually experienced that. They've always given me, or I've always gotten into any event that I've applied for, so I don't really know how that goes. I guess people, if that's happened to you, leave that down below in your experience with that. But they are the biggest events, I would say, especially in Canada. Like Fan Expo Canada and Calgary Expo are the two biggest conventions, and they're run by the same company. So if you want a wide variety of people to come to your table or have the opportunity to look at your stuff, that's a really good event for you, because it's really mainstream. Like, that's where like the normie person is gonna go, probably more than like an anime convention. And they are fun events, at least in my experience. I've always had a really good time. Most of that's due to the people that go and less like the event themselves, but I would say that they're still good events. I have a couple of vlogs on my channel. I did the last 3 years that I've done Vancouver, Fan Expo Vancouver. I've done the last 2 Calgary Expos. So I have some, so if you want to kind of see what the vibes are like, you can check out those videos. Then we also have these Comic-Cons here, and these are actually all run by the same company as well. So again, you apply the same way. These, I would say, I've done Winnipeg Comic-Con. Winnipeg Comic-Con is pretty expensive for what it is. I don't necessarily recommend that con. It's my local convention, so I go, but I don't necessarily recommend. But they're also another one where they have their website, and they're a pretty big, like, for-profit company, like Fan Expo, like the Fan Expos. So they're pretty easy to apply. Like, their website's laid out really well. You just click. They generally don't seem to do any like vetting of the artists, so you can kind of just sell whatever. You don't really seem to have to prove much. But something that you will need for every application is a portfolio of some kind. Now, often that is an Instagram. Most like places, they're totally cool with Instagram. You could make your own website and like make a gallery of all the stuff you sell, but if you have an art Instagram, that would be sufficient. And I recommend, if you're wanting to do Artist Alley artist stuff, get an Instagram. Make an art Instagram where you just post your art, because it's just a good, easy way for people to find you. If they want to get in contact with you, they can. And it's just like a nice place just to dump everything there. So if you don't have an Instagram, get an Instagram. That can be used as your portfolio. Most Artist Alley applications don't require anything more than that. However, because of AI, some of them might require a time-lapse video of one of your art pieces. So if you're doing digital art, like just like the screen time-lapse that like Procreate gives you, or some kind of video evidence that you're actually physically making your product yourself, because that's the world that we live in now. But those are kind of easy-ish things to do, and that can be dependent on the application. Now, for anime conventions, they're the ones that are definitely different depending on which anime convention it is, because anime conventions are generally volunteer-run. They are not-for-profit, and so they're all separate. Instead of all being owned by one company, they're all separate depending on the city. But anime conventions are the most fun. So if you can work through the application, I really recommend trying some of them, because they're just so fun. They're way more fun. Their heart is way more in it than the Fan Expos, and they're the best. But for those, some of the most common ways that I've seen applications go are lottery, which basically means they'll open applications for a week or so, and everybody puts their applications in, and then they basically pick them out of a hat for who gets a table. So it's totally random, not based on anything. There's nothing you can do to give yourself more or less chances. It's all just very random, so if you get in or not, it's just kind of luck of the draw. Then there is juried, which means, like it suggests, is that you have your applications open for a few days, then the jury that they have selected looks through all the applications and picks the ones that they think match the vibe of the event the best. I can't imagine how stressful it would be to have to pick through all these artists because everybody's so talented, but that is a way. And then there is also first come, first serve, which is how it sounds. They open the applications, the first people to get their applications in get a table. And often conventions do a mix of all the ones. Like, for example, my local anime convention, Icon, which is the best, and if you have a chance to go to Icon, even just as an attendee, you should, it's the best. They have a 60% of the tables are first come, first serve, and 40% are lottery. So, and usually those 60% first come, first serve go in like a minute. They're gone. It's very competitive and very fast. So that's really stressful, but all of the different types of application processes do have kind of their merits. And the worst thing that you could do is not apply, because if you don't apply, you won't get in. But if you do apply, you might not get in, but you also might get in. And you have to expect to get rejected from some conventions. Like this year, I think I've been rejected from like maybe 6 or so of the conventions that I applied to, and that just is kind of the nature of the con game. And they're getting more competitive as time goes on, and things will change, but hopefully that will mean that more conventions will pop up, which would be cool, because then there's more opportunities for people. And, you know, there are also opportunities for local markets, which I wouldn't say are necessarily my favorite thing, but some of them are super fun. Because local markets are not, if you're super anime focused, they might not be your vibe, but there are places that can fit you. Like for us, example, in Winnipeg, we have the punk rock flea market, which has more alternative stuff. So like, you know, your stuff might fit more into that. If you are looking for local markets, I would recommend checking on Facebook. I am part of like a handmade group, and sometimes, or even I think local market groups, and where people will post their local markets if they're looking for vendors and stuff. And not that all of those are big, so I wouldn't say like prioritize those. They can be fun to do if you just want to like go for a day, and especially on like big events like Canada Day or Pride or things like that. Like joining those events is also another way to kind of get you into like setting up a table and selling your art in person, because it's fun selling your art in person. You know, getting the actual reaction from people is super valuable, instead of just like selling online where like you hope people like it, but it's hard to know. It's nice to like look at them in the eyes when they buy from you. And so just to wrap this section up, the application processes generally are depend on the company that's running it or what anime convention you're looking at. So look at their specific website. They will always say on the website when applications open and what you need, and often they will have a like fake application kind of open, like a form like that they'll post that so you can see exactly what you need to have written down. Make yourself an art Instagram so that you can have a place to link to what art you sell, again, or set up your own website if that's something that we're planning on doing or have anyway. And if you're going to apply to fan expos, you're going to need the money up front. The other ones, most other cons, you don't need the money up front. You wait until you get accepted and then you pay. But so, you know, you have to kind of take that into account, and if you're applying to the fan expos, keep track of if you get into the con or not, because if you don't, make sure that you then, you know, start kind of emailing them for a refund so that they don't hold on to your money any longer than they already have. Number 3, table materials. So you've done it. You've gotten into a convention. Congratulations, you've done it. Now is the next part. How do I set up my table? How do I display my stuff? Because while you could just lay everything flat on the table, that isn't the most appealing thing ever. People might walk right by it because they'd have to be right above the table to look at everything. And you want people to be drawn in to your captivating art from across the room if you could. So that's where the table setups come from. Now, the best thing that you can do, if you can, is go to a convention and walk through the artist alley and take notes on how people set up things. Because setups, although are all customized, are often quite similar in terms of what products go on what types of displays. I'm going to be listing a bunch of stuff that I use here. I will also link all of them down below with Amazon links, because most of the stuff I did get from Amazon, if you're looking for the exact same thing that I am, because I think that my table display works quite well. I'll also show you some photos of my table displays and how it's evolved over the years. So for my personal tables, this was my first ever table, which was Fan Expo Vancouver 2022. As you can see, it's a little sparse. I mean, it's not too bad, but it's quite compact and it's like hard to kind of see all of the different products, and so like kind of no wonder I didn't do that well. I mean, I did okay at that convention, but like this isn't the most ideal table setup ever if you want people to actually see what your stuff is. Like the prices are a little hard to see and there's not as much like eye-catching, like come look at this thing, look how exciting. And so for my next table, I did this, which I think was a little bit better because I learned from my first con that, oh, I need to change up some things. So I changed up some stuff and made it a little bit more vertical, because vertical is good. More stuff you can have that's like up and out is great. So I did a little bit more. And each con I would kind of just tweak what my table setup looked like until I reached this. This was my most recent table setup for Calgary Expo / Sask Expo. And I think that this so far has been my most successful. So we'll see how it evolves in the future. But I really like this so far. But something that you'll probably notice if you start doing these a couple of times a year is that things that you think are really visible might not be actually visible to your audience, which is really interesting. And that's why you need to kind of be open to moving stuff around. Even during the con, there's no harm in moving product around to try and make it more interesting maybe for people and to get it into the view, especially if it's something you really want people to see. Like for example, for me at Calgary Expo, I had my Gengars. Here, I'll see if I can put a picture of it here. I had my little Gengars that I make that I really like, that I put underneath my Pokemon cards thinking, oh, all the Pokemon, they're in a vertical line, that'll be fine. And what I found out very quickly is that people were not looking at them. It's not even like people were saying, oh, they're too expensive, I don't want it. They just were totally missing that it was even there because they were too excited to look at the Pokemon cards. So for, I think, one of the last days of the con, I moved the Gengars down to the front of the table and they were seen. So you have to be willing to just move stuff around on your table, and your setup is not permanent. You can move whatever you want, but here are some of the materials that you can use for it. So first up is acrylic stands. I have many different versions of these, but these are great. You will see so many people using these. They are nail polish displays, actually, the big ones, and then I have some smaller ones, and then I also have some brochure stands. Now all of these are great in their own ways. They are super useful and super common. You will see these at many of people's tables. If you sell stickers, if you sell enamel pins, if you sell probably even like maybe keychains, maybe if you sell mini prints, they can all fit onto these, and they're so nice because they're clear so people can see through them to see the products. And again, they're vertical, they're easy to store because they come apart. However, if you're gonna get the acrylic standees, I would recommend getting the ones that click together and not the ones that screw together. Because for example, this is one that screws together and they're fine. They obviously work. I did it for a long time, but if you travel and you need to break this down every time, this will add, like, I'm not kidding you, like hours to your takedown / setup because of how long it takes to put all of the screws on and off of these. So these are really great. The screw ones are great. If you're not gonna travel, they're great. But if you do travel, get the ones that click into place. As you can see, mine's not even put together because all you have to do is put the things together and then click it in and it's in. And then you'd obviously have the other side. And that makes it so much easier. It'll save you so much time if you have to break these down. Get the clicky ones. They're virtually the same product, but get the clicky ones. And then this brochure stand is also great. Obviously it's for brochures. It's like a 4x6, so if you have small prints, I use it for my sticker books sometimes, or notepads. Things like that can be used in here. The only bad side of this is that you can't take it down, so it's a little hard to travel with, again, if you're traveling. If you're not, then these work great as well. Again, it's just another vertical element. Next up is something else that's super common that you will see at almost every Artist Alley table, and that is the grids. The metal grids. They are so versatile, and obviously you can take them down, you can set them up however you want. They are great. I really highly recommend getting the grids. And there are a couple different kinds that I'll show you here. So first is the classic metal grate. These are the ones that you'll see the most often. You can spray paint them to be whatever color you want. They're super versatile because you can hook things into them. Like if you have keychains or something, you can hook into them, which makes that really useful as like a piece of display. You can see through them, so people, if it's on the side, people can still see your display from the side, which is super awesome. And they let light in, so they're not like darkening up your table setup or anything, and they're you can kind of just find them anywhere. So they're super useful and common and awesome. I've used these for years and I really, really love them. I find them just like sturdy, so I'm not worried about my setup falling on top of me, which is nice, and they hold everything, and they look nice on like the table, you know, the kind of geometric shapes look nice. They're very good. I love them. But if you're looking to go a little bit more fun and whimsy, we do have the colored non-metal grate type. So they're put together the same way. There's little connectors that you use to stick them all together, except these ones are colorful. Ooh, so you can see I have pink and yellow here because that's the two colors that I use on my setup, and these are also super fun. So what I like about these is that if you're someone who doesn't have a backdrop, like for example, this is my table setup with my print backdrop stand, and that's really good to have some sort of backdrop. So if you have a backdrop, these might, you can still use them, but more lower on the table because you don't, of course, don't want to get rid of or block the view to your prints, but having some sort of backdrop is really nice because then people can't see the tables behind you, because I've had that happen to me before once where the person next to me had a big print display and her prints were really nice, but because of that, people were looking at her prints from my table and like not looking at my table, which was very sad. So you want something to kind of block behind you. So if you have a bunch of prints, use prints. If you don't, use these. You can make a whole display so that people can't see behind you and they can't see through your prints because the metal grates, sometimes you can see through them, and they're colorful so they can match your aesthetic, which is so cute. And if you want to hook stuff to them, like what I've done here, I've attached command hooks to them so I can hang keychains to them. So they're super useful and they're super cute, and there's a couple of colors. They're not as versatile with the colors, but there's like a decent selection of colors for these, which are awesome. I really, really like them. I have, so many great displays now, but they're so useful no matter what size of table you have. I've used these for 6 feet tables, for 8 foot tables. They're just so useful. And if you do the reverse like cube, you can have storage space behind your table also, which is awesome because normally you don't want everything to be like on the ground or on your lap. So yeah, these are awesome. You will see, again, most artists using some form of these grid displays for some stuff because they're so useful, and the colored ones are cute and they're great. And it helps people if they're looking for your booth. You can be like, oh, mine is the one with the pink and yellow grates, or the pink and yellow cubes, come find me, which is also very useful because you want to try your best to stand out even just a little bit from somebody else. I have a pink glittery tablecloth. I have the pink and yellow grates. Come find me. Speaking of tablecloths, have a tablecloth at your booth because some tables might come with a cover and like a skirt to block underneath the table, but some don't. And you don't want to have either all your stuff underneath the table visible or having like the really crusty, splintery, gross tables with all your stuff on it. So get a tablecloth. For me, this light pink sheet is a sheet, like it's a bed sheet. So a bed sheet just works. You don't need to go super crazy with it. And then I have the pink glittery tablecloth, which I've had this for years. And because most of the tablecloth is covered by my stuff, you can't, if there's any like holes in the sequins, which there definitely are now, you really can't see them. And it just adds, again, we all have little shiny crow brains and we just see shiny things and we're like, wow, wow. So this helps people like come be able, because they're like, oh, I saw the shiny tablecloth and I wanted to come see what was here. It is really useful having something like this on your table. See, like, look how catchy that is. Look at me, look at me, look at me. And it's just nice to have something else that's like your brand colors. Now, if you don't have a brand, just what colors because some people have like a color palette that they use a lot in their art. So pick something from that to do that, or even just having a black one. That also works. Whatever, floats your boat. But a tablecloth is a super useful thing to have. And again, they can just be a bed sheet. It doesn't have to be that fancy. On the same side as like the tablecloth, I also recommend having some sort of cloth you can use to cover your table at night after the con is over, because you might leave some stuff on your table, so just having something to cover it is nice. I use this. This was from the dollar store. It's like a picnic blanket, and I just use it to put over top of all my products. I know some people, you can just use the bottom of your tablecloth and just like flip it over, and that would work as well. Another thing that you can use for your display is something like this, which is a tackle box. This is like a fishing tackle box, and I actually use mine mostly for my stickers. These are the ones where the lid can come off, and then you just have this, nice compartments, put stickers in them, an awesome way to display them, keep them organized. I think it looks really nice. It can, you know, you can fit a lot in here. They're pretty easy to store. If you had smaller stickers, you could actually keep them displayed in here. My stickers are always too big, so I have to remove them out of here, but like, it's still a nice thing, and they're really like flat, so if you're traveling, they're pretty easy to travel with. They're a super good investment, and you can get a bunch of them for pretty cheap. Another thing that can be useful depending on what you're selling is something like this, which is like a pegboard or a pin board. I obviously use mine for my earrings, because they have the holes in them. Just stick the earrings in through there, so if you're somebody who sells earrings, you can stick them in. But you could probably also use these for like keychains as well. You can find ones with maybe bigger holes to stick stuff in there. Just another way to keep things displayed in a nice way. Obviously this one's also pink, which is nice, and because it's not attached to anything, I can like put it wherever on my display where it fits, which is nice. And it's nice and flat, it's easy to travel with. So something like this could also be something used depending on what you're selling. And then I know I was talking about the backdrop just before, but I forgot to show the backdrop display. This is what it looks like. It is a photography backdrop stand, and you can use it for prints, which is awesome. It is really, really nice. If you have a lot of prints, it's awesome to have the backdrop wall of prints. It makes it really eye-catching. People can see. How I would actually display my prints is like this. So I put mine on white cardstock, and then I put the names of the prints underneath them, because just in case somebody didn't know what to call them, it's easier instead of being like, oh, can I have like that one? But you could also number your prints too. They're really easy. And what I would also do is you can see to attach them to the backdrop stand is you can see there's hole punches here, because I would actually use shower rings to attach them to my backdrop stand, because they're really sturdy. You can move them around, but they're also not super rigid that if somebody like, you know, walks behind your table, because people will be walking behind your backdrop display to get to their table. There's not enough room behind Artist Alley tables. It will happen. It makes them so that they're able to like move around without falling over. They're really awesome to do that. And it's like super easy, super cheap. You always have a display print. It's awesome. With the backdrop display though, you will need some sort of way to like make it sure that it stays on the ground. If you can find one that has a really sturdy feet, like the flat foot ones, that would probably be better. For me, I have only had my backdrop display stand fall once on top of me, but it was light because it's just all prints, so it's fine. Normally I take painter's tape and I tape it to the floor, because you can't leave residue or anything, but painter's tape doesn't leave residue, so it's fine. Or I will take soup cans and I will put them in a bag and I will tie them to the feet just to help weigh them down so that they don't fall over. And it does cramp up the back of your table a little bit, because you obviously need to have it behind you, but you also have to sit. But it's a really good thing if you have a lot of prints. It's just like the best way to display a ton of prints. But now that I don't sell prints as much, I don't personally use my backdrop display as much anymore. You also need to make sure that you can find one that fits in a suitcase if you're traveling. Another good thing to use are these little sign clips. Again, I got them on Amazon. They have a clip on one end, and then the part that you can put the display or the sign in on the other end. And these are great. Again, it's just another way to clip them onto your display. You can maneuver them all around to wherever you will need your sign to be. And they're very nice to have instead of having to try and figure out how to tape your sign to the display, and because you don't want to block anything. These can be really useful to have because they can just kind of go anywhere, wherever you need them. And, you know, they're not, even if, and like they're pretty sturdy, like they're pretty firm. When you do clip them onto something, they won't move generally unless somebody like bats it off. But even if they do, they're easy to put back. And if you buy a pack of them, you get 1 billion. So you'll always have them no matter what. And I find them really useful. I just bring as many as I can every con, because you never know, but they're useful. Another good thing with your table is to have some sort of banner. This is mine. I got it on Vistaprint, I think, quite a few years ago at this point, but it's just a really small little banner, has my name, there I am, and I use safety pins and I pin it often to the front of my table, and it works really well. It's just a little something for people so they can go, oh, I'll take, because I have lots of people who will take a picture of it to be like, oh, I'm going to come back later, or I'll look you up on Instagram, things like that. So just some sort of brand thing. You can also, if you wanted to use this, put your name, put maybe a QR code that people could use to link you to your Instagram, things like that. Anyway, banners, super good. There's lots of places to get banners too. Again, I got mine on Vistaprint, but I'm sure like Banner Buzz Press would be another one that would be really good. Just sort of anything. You could make it yourself out of foam. This one's just easy because it's canvas and I can roll it up and stick it in a suitcase, but any amount of like branding would be nice. You just want people to be able to like remember you. Because just in case you run out of business cards or they don't want to take a business card, you know, let them take a picture of your banner or let them just remember the banner, you know, remember the table name from the banner, things like that. Just useful. And another thing you can do is make your own display. So this is where I keep my Pokemon cards. I think I did in one of my prep vlog videos, I made this. So this is, I printed this out on papers, taped it together. It's on a piece of foam board. I cut the foam board in the back so that I can fold it over to put it in my suitcase, have the sign up there. And yeah, you can just make your own little display pieces like this too. It doesn't have to be that fancy. This is paper and tape and ink, not that fancy. And this is like different paper than this. It doesn't really matter though, but it's a good display. It's eye-catching enough. People can see what it is. Doesn't need to be fancy, but you can do stuff like this. And the last two things that I'll mention for this section are little tiny standees like this. It's just like you can put a book on it. You can put, I use it sometimes to display my hats, like just putting the hat on top of it. Just a little thing, again, to put some more vertical elements on your table. This can be used maybe to display one of your prints on like the side and then have the other one somewhere else, or one if you have a sticker book or notepads, kind of just anything. They're just useful to have. You can get them at the dollar store. And the last thing would be some string lights. These ones don't have any batteries in them right now, but you can get these at the dollar store and they can just be really useful because some places that you go will be really dark. And so you don't want it to be dark because then people can't see your stuff. So having these just like to weave around your display is very nice, super useful. Can just add an extra bit of flair, a little bit of twinkle. Again, bird brains or ooh, lights, shiny, what's that? These are really useful for that. And again, they pack up pretty small, so you can just kind of stick them in a bag. The battery pack's not too big. And if they're from the dollar store, if they do run out of batteries, kind of no big deal. But that is basically everything that I use for my display table. Again, if you are an artist, leave down below if you use any other types of displays. I would love to hear it, so would probably everybody else watching this. Number 4, travel materials. So now you have all your table setup stuff, but what if you want to travel to cons? That's a whole other beast, because not only are you maybe not in a car, maybe you're flying. How do you take all of this stuff on a plane? But even in a car, how do you get it all there yourself? What if you don't have helpers? What do you do? I got you. Most of the cons that I travel, I do alone, and I fly and I drive to them. So I've done both. So for right now, for flying, I take 2 suitcases. One has my display stuff in it, and the other one has my product in it, for the most part. And then I also have a carry-on bag. So I do have to pay for 2 suitcases, and often my suitcases are right at the cusp of the 50-pound limit. They are like 49.8 pounds, but like close enough, that's fine. And so it is a bit of a mishmash and kind of trying to get everything to fit. You have to kind of play Tetris, but if you get big suitcases, they will fit. But something that is very important to do is to do a mock table setup before you go, because then you'll know exactly how many grates you need, exactly how many connectors you'll need, exactly how many sign stands you'll need, so that you don't have to take an excess amount of stuff. You can kind of take just what you need, maybe just a little more just in case something breaks, but you won't have to take everything that you own because you'll know exactly how much you need. So that's really useful. So if you're traveling, after you try to Tetris everything in, you need to have a really good system for organization. So you can get something like this, which is a little mini file folder. This I use to keep all of my prices in, all of my signs. and it's just an easy thing, so I know I can just chuck this in there. I have all my signs ready to go, because you're not going to want to have them just floating everywhere, because especially if you're someone who wants them to be like nice looking and not just like handwritten. If you want to handwrite them, go ahead, but it's nice to have all of them in one folder. Another thing is something like this. This is a packing cube thing. You can get them like for actual travel, and I have mine full of all of the connectors for my grids, just because I found it easier than trying to keep them in the cardboard, because the cardboard sometimes falls apart. But I have like lights in here. I also often will keep tape, and the little standees are also in here, and scissors will be in here. Kind of just like anything that I'll need for the actual setup, I keep in this pouch, and then again, that can just go fit in the suitcase, and it's nice to know that I have everything contained very nicely. Another thing that's really important is if you sell anything, plushies, hats, t-shirts, sweaters, anything that can be compressed, get vacuum seal bags. These things are seriously a lifesaver, because sometimes you'll have weight left, like you'll have extra weight that you can put in your suitcase, but not enough room because everything's taking up so much space. So these, you can put a whole bunch of stuff in here, you can compress them, and then they're ready, they're packed in there, you can add more stuff on top of them. These are awesome, and I generally have never needed my vacuum seal bags on the way home from a trip, because my goal is to sell a lot of this stuff, so I won't need these. But going to the con, these are super useful. They can just make it easier for you to carry stuff out, and again, then there's a bag for them all to be in. It's nice to have everything kind of in their own separate bags for what you're bringing. So these are super useful. You can get them in a bunch of different sizes. They're great. Now, another huge thing that I got that like is a huge game changer is a wagon. If you are flying, can't take the wagon. But if you're driving, the wagon is the best, because it can fit a bunch of stuff. It has wheels, so you're not carrying everything. You can have suitcases, you can hold the wagon, and you can be on your little merry way. I don't like taking more than one trip, so the wagon is awesome to be able to put everything that I need into it and just, you know, maneuver stuff around. It can fold up pretty small, get fit into a car quite nicely. The wagon is awesome, and I really highly recommend the wagon if you're traveling, if you're not flying, but you're traveling, even from your house to the con. The wagon is great. And I think that is all that I have for travel-specific products that I use. Again, if you have any ideas, leave them down below. But let's move on. Number 5, product ideas. So you've got a table set up, you've got your travel stuff, but now you're like, well, what kind of things can I sell? What even are things that I can make with my art? Because that sometimes can be quite stressful if you're someone who maybe only does print art. Like, do I only want to do prints? What else can I do with the art? So there are lots of different ideas. Again, if you can go to a convention and look around at what people are selling, that can be really useful. But some product ideas that I have, I will give to you now. So something that, I make a ton of are stickers. Stickers are great. They're cheap, they're easy, they're small. You can sell a bunch of them, you can make a bunch of them in a bunch of different styles. People love stickers. They are awesome as like a good, cheap price point for stuff. And you can take your print art and then just make it into a sticker. Maybe get rid of the background if like you have like a central focused character, just make that the sticker. It's really easy to modify existing artwork into sticker artwork, and people love the stickers. You can print them yourself, you can get them printed elsewhere, you can make them vinyl, you can make them hollow. Stickers are the best. Another thing, if you don't want to just make the traditional prints, is to make like sticker books or stationery. Again, sticker books, you can just take your existing print art, put it on top of a sticker book or a notebook, anything like that, have it be the cover. Bada bing, you've got it. You can also make bookmarks. That would be super fun with your traditional print artwork. You can make notepads with them. Again, you might have to modify it to make there be a space where people can write stuff down, but sticky notes, you can use that as well. And people love stationery. Everybody needs stationery, because I'm also the kind of person that, like, if I'm buying stuff, I don't want to just have it be something that I have to put on a wall always, because I'm running out of wall space. I have lots of stuff, but I love stationery because I'll use it and I'll feel and I get to look at it every time I use it, and like that's super fun. And it's just like another kind of interesting way to display and sell and showcase your art. If you're a handy crafter, you can make keychains. If you're a crocheter, make hats. You can make little stuffed animals. People love my little octopus guys that I make. Make just like little guys. And if you're gonna make little characters, write the word adopt like adopt an octopus on your signage, and people will eat that shit up. People love to adopt little tiny cute things, me included. If you're a 3D printer, you can make dice towers. People love dice towers. I've never made them, but I see people with them, and people really seem to like really cool dice towers. So if you're into like D&D or stuff, dice towers, super cool. I make phone holders. That's another thing. Like just honestly, think of the products that you want and make those. And they're fun. You can also, of course, there are things like, keychains and acrylic standees. If you're a K-pop fan, photo card holders. There's like so many different ideas you can make, and now manufacturing them can be a little bit confusing. I would recommend, if you've never used a manufacturer before, use Vograce. I'm not sponsored by Vograce. I've just used them, and I find that their website is quite easy to navigate. If you're kind of just starting out, I don't really know what I'm doing. It's quite easy to be able to say how many of them you want, write the size that you want, upload the art of the stuff you want, and like get it all in one, and they do quite a variety of products. So there's something that can be good to at least start with, because other manufacturers like on Alibaba can be a little bit more intimidating. So Vograce is a good one to start off with. But for stickers, there are lots of sticker companies who make stickers, depending on what you're looking for. I use Sticker App, even though Sticker App is expensive. They make glittery stickers, but you can there's lots of places to do that. I would recommend Googling from your city first, and then maybe your country, and then moving on from there. And also join things like Facebook groups, like there's a Artist Alley network, I believe. If I can link it down below, I will. That a lot of people will share where they sell or where they get their products from. Or you can ask on there and people will recommend places for you to go to get different kinds of products. I would recommend just like trying products that you want to make even just once and seeing how they go. Because I'll be like, I'm going to try keychains, and be like, nobody bought them. Okay, I'll sell what I have, and then I won't make any more for now. Or like pins, okay, we'll try that. And like just trying different products is nice. Because then you get to, flex your little designs muscle, and people can, at different conventions, get different products from you, which is always super fun. Because keeping your products updated or advancing them as often as you can is really useful, because you will notice if you go to a con multiple years in a row, people will be like, oh, I have that, which is awesome, but you want them to be like, oh, I have that, but these are new and I want this. So updating your products all the time is really nice, and that could mean, just every once in a while, trying some new products. Of course, a lot of them, cost money, so that you have to take that into effect, but you can do pretty low quantity things and just to try them out, and then, ordering more if they're popular or if you really like to make them, because you got to make stuff that you like, right? And now that hopefully you've gotten some product ideas on the way, we will move on to number 7, which is pricing. Now, pricing your products is the hardest part of being an artist. I am so bad at this. I always want to undercharge for everything, because I'm like, I want people to buy them. And so I'm like, what if it isn't worth it? I don't know if my art's good enough. It's so hard to have your art priced in a way that like makes sense for you and makes sense for other people. But you have to not underprice yourself, because it's not only doing a disservice to you, but also to other artists. Because if you're really underpriced, then people won't buy their stuff because they'll be like, well, that's so expensive. And you don't want that. You want to be at least on par with everybody else and giving the value of the art to your art that your art has. Your art is valuable, and it needs to be priced that way. So again, a really good piece of advice is if you can go to a convention, look at what other people's prices are. Because generally, there's a price range that people keep certain products in, and you can just put your product and prices in there, which is very useful, because then you don't have to come up with the price. That's just what everybody else does. Like, for example, vinyl stickers generally sell between $3 and $5. So if you're going to make vinyl stickers, put them in the $3 to $5 range and see how that goes. Keychains can be, $10 to $20. Put them in there. But you want to make sure that whatever price you're doing is that you're not undercharging yourself. So make sure that it covers the costs. The cost of the manufacturer to you, including shipping, includes your time. That can be a hard one, because stuff like crocheting takes a long time, but can't necessarily be sold for as long as it takes you. So you have to kind of balance that a bit, but make sure that usually it's like whatever your break-even point is, like double that. And then maybe even triple that, depending on the product. And if you're somebody who say crochets, but you're like, I can't sell my crocheted stuff and pay myself a fair wage because it would be way too expensive, have some products that maybe don't have as much of a profit margin, but then make other products like stickers that can have a higher product or a price margin. Profit margin, that's the word, profit margin. So then you'll kind of balance it out a little bit by having higher profit margins, lower profit margins. Make sure everything is a profit though. Give everything a profit. And the best part of being your own boss at an Artist Alley table is you control the prices. So if you go to a con and you're like, I'm gonna sell stuff for this, 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 and this, but then you get to Saturday and maybe this hasn't been sold as much, like, or people have commented on it maybe it being too expensive, then maybe on Sunday you have a Sunday sale and you drop the price. There's nothing wrong with changing the price at the convention if you need to. Making it cheaper if you need to, especially if you're someone who travels and you want to sell out of a certain product so you don't have to take it home. Drop the price. That's allowed. You can do that. And you can move things around every con to see what people are willing to pay and what they aren't willing to pay for products. Because nobody is holding a gun to you saying you have to have a product that's this price. You can do whatever you want. So don't worry so much about the pricing. Make sure that at least it covers your costs and then kind of work it out from there. And as you get more popular, you can start raising your prices more. Or if a certain product always sells out, raise the price more. See what happens from there. And that's the best part of learning and growing and going to multiple cons is like, you can do whatever you want. And I believe in you. Just don't undersell yourself because it's not good for anybody. And your stuff is valuable and worth whatever price you want to give it. Now to end off this video, we will go with part 7, some general advice. Now this is just the ending little conclusion area where I just wanted to give some general advice on stuff that I think is useful and has been useful for me up until this point. Something that I think is really important is if you get into a con, tell people that you're going to the con. Post on social media. So as soon as you get your table number, post on Instagram where your table is going to be. Post products that you're going to be selling at the convention and tag the con. Tag the con in any prep that you're doing. Make a TikTok or TikToks of your prep and your setup. I always do a setup with me video on TikTok and it's super useful. I get tons of people at the con going, oh, I saw your setup video on TikTok and now I found your table. Super cool. It's awesome because if you tag the con, then people who are going to the con, it might like show up to them more often. And that is super useful to have somebody know, oh, I saw that person on social media. Because then they're more likely to come over. And even if just to chat, that's so fun. Having people chat with you is so fun and they might want to buy something. So you have to post that you're going to the con as soon as you know, because then otherwise people won't know that you're going to the con. So, you know, it's annoying a little bit to have to like sell yourself like that, but like just post what you normally post, but be like, and it'll be at this con on this date. Here's where my table's gonna be. You know, if you're someone who's gonna be on YouTube, make a prep vlog. Or make an Artist Alley vlog when you're at the con. Kind of just post about the cons that you're going to because then people will be expecting you there, which is very useful. Also, another thing related to social media is as soon as you get your table set up, you can usually see like the floor map. Look at who's next to you, who's behind you, who's in front of you, and follow all of those artists because they are artists just like you. And why not get to know them even just in their art before you get to go sit next to them? Because you probably will talk to them a little bit and it's nice to, you know, make friends that way because making friends for me is really difficult and making artist friends, I'm so nervous because everybody seems so cool, but just following on Instagram, you know, because I'm like, oh, like, yeah, oh, I saw these on Instagram. That's really cool, like that, he, nice to meet you because we were friends on Instagram first. And then you'll get to know people and the more cons you do, the more people you know. And it's so exciting to get to go to a con and be like, hello friends, hello everybody. It makes you feel like you're part of the team, part of the crew. It's very fun. Also another sort of general thing kind of related to table setup, and products I guess, but like make, and I definitely mentioned it before, but make the products and the table setup that you would be interested in buying from. Because for me, personally, I am a person who, I'm quite nervous, so I like to be able to go up to a table and grab what I want from the table, hold it in my hands, give it to them, and pay that way. Because I'm very nervous that if I have to like pick a print off a wall or pick a certain keychain off the wall that I'm gonna say something wrong and they're gonna give me the wrong one and I'm too nervous to like say that wasn't the one that I wanted, and sometimes that'll make me not want to buy it from a table because I'm too nervous. or if it seems too complicated to figure out how to get the product, how to say what product I want. So for me, I like having open stock. So that's why most of my products are open stock. You grab them yourself. It's, you know, because that's the table that I would want to buy from. The products that I make are products that I like to buy. Make the table for you. Be selfish and make the table your perfect table that you would want to buy from. Because if you want to buy from a table like yours, I promise you other people will feel the exact same way. Don't try and do what everybody else is doing if that's not the table setup that you're most likely to buy from or the product you're most likely to buy. Make your table for you, because then you will find the other people who are like you who want to buy the stuff like you do, and that is awesome. And that's, yeah, so fun and makes it a lot more like enjoyable and like interesting to be like, yeah, like this is my table setup. I really like this, and this is how I do it, and this is, I would totally buy from this table if I wasn't selling my stuff here. And it's a good feeling to be like, yeah, make it for you. Make everything that you do something that you would like to do. Not just following a trend, not just following a certain thing that's popular at the moment. Make what you would like to make. Of course, you can add some trendy products in there, of course. Make some stuff that maybe you're not as well versed in, but like, make most of the stuff for you. And the last thing I will say just before we wrap this thing up is, if you see me at a convention in Canada, please come and say hi to me. Tell me you watch this video. Let me know if you like it or you dislike it. That's fine. I love talking to people who have seen my stuff, especially on YouTube. I'm trying very hard on YouTube. I don't know if you've noticed. I'm trying my best. And I love it when people say that they watch my YouTube videos. It warms my heart so much and it makes me feel so good and tingly. So if you see me at a con, totally come and say hi. I'm sorry if I'm a little bit awkward. I'm just an awkward person, but I love to talk to you and it makes me so happy and warm and fuzzy and it makes me so happy. I love it. And, you know, same with other people. If you see people in the comments who are talking and you see them at a con, like if they're, you know, an artist and you see them at a con, go say hi to them, tell them you saw them in the comments of this video. Hopefully this video was useful for you. This is a kind of video that I wish I had watched before I did my first convention, so I really hope that it is doing the same thing for you. I'm so excited to see you on your journey to be an Artist Alley artist. If you do end up at a convention that I'm at and you know, just recently started, let me know that too. I would love to come and like see your table and like look at your stuff. It'd be so exciting. It makes me so happy to see that. Cause yeah, I hope that this does make you maybe a little bit more confident in going for it. Cause you got this. I promise you got this. It's great. The artist community is so wonderful, especially in Canada. It's wonderful. People are so nice and things are so cool, and like, why not go for it? Even if you just do cons infrequently, like just once a year cons, who cares? They're so fun. My dog is barking outside, so that means that I gotta go. So thank you so much for watching this. I really hope you enjoyed. Please consider subscribing down below if you are interested. I'm posting twice a week for the rest of the summer, so you'll be seeing me a lot. But yeah, I really appreciate you sticking with me for this whole video, and I will see you in whatever my next video ends up being. Bye!